Okay, I think we got everybody. All right, Jeremy, we're all set.
We're live.
Very good. Okay, hello, everybody. We'll call this meeting to order at 6:04. I'll just review who's on the meeting. So we have members Donovan, we have member Green, member Allen, member McFadden, member Pasillo, member Monroe, myself, Superintendent Aronakis, Bob Ross, Director of Administration, Jeremy Taylor, Director of Technology, Dr. Marie Ahern, our Curriculum Director, and we have our Legal Counsel, Attorney Pollock. I think I got everybody. Let's see, open forum. I'll just remind you for the public, if you'd like to speak, *9 raises your hand, *6 mutes and unmutes. So any comments must be directed to the chairperson of the school committee, who may limit or terminate a discussion. No comment should address personnel, litigation, or negotiations as restricted by open meeting regulations. The school committee cannot take action or vote on topics introduced that are not reflected on the agenda. So is anyone from the public that would like to speak to address the school committee? You may do so now. Okay, I don't see any hands up. Okay. All right. We'll go to recognitions and achievements. So we have 2 departing school committee members that we'd like to recognize. And Terry Donovan and Sheryl Green. I'll start by saying a few words. We'll start with Terry Donovan and say a few words, and then we'll move over to Sheryl. So I'd like to say that Terry and I began our school committee journey at the same time, a big whopping 10 years and 6 months ago, which seems like it was just yesterday. It's a sad time to say goodbye for me. Obviously, I'm very happy, Terry, for you and Bill and the next phase of your life. I wish you a lot of luck and happiness and lots of new memories down in the new state you're going to be living in. You're always a voice of reason on the school committee, and you bring valuable knowledge, insight to all discussions. And no matter the topic, no matter the climate, you always maintain composure and professionalism. And it's just been a joy to work with you all these years. Your commitment to our schools has and always will be appreciated. The untallied hours that you've put into the school committee. You were on 3 contract negotiation teams, numerous professional development hours you attended. You were on hiring committees, attended school functions, and you've just gone above and beyond as a school committee member. So I just want to let you know you're going to be missed. You're a valuable member of the committee, and a heartfelt thank you for everything that you've done for our school community.
Claudine,
I like to acknowledge. Yep, go ahead, Jim.
So I echo everything that Claudine has said. I want everyone to know that Terry and Sheryl both picked up from the office a certificate of appreciation, a gift from the school department for the years of service, and they're named plaques as a memory of the school committee. I know Terry has been on the school committee since I arrived in Exeter West Greenwich 9 years ago now. We've spent many late nights at the office negotiating several contracts, both for Council 94 and the Teachers Association. I've just appreciated so much your insight and your commitment over the years, and your support for the kids and for the families of this community. It's much appreciated. It's a pleasure working for you.
If we have any members who'd like to speak, address Terry, I'll look for hands. Member Green?
Terry, I'm so happy for you, but I already communicated my feelings to Terry pretty much 2 minutes after I received the resignation letter in the packet. So she knows how I feel. I've learned so much from her. so much from you, Terry, and you're just a class act and knowledgeable and kind, and I can't say enough, and they are really going to miss out having you depart this school committee. I can tell you that. So I appreciate everything. You're just a wonderful person. So I wish you the best, the absolute best in your next journey.
Thank you.
Member Allen?
Yes, I'd like to thank Terry for all her hard work, and I hope she and Bill have a wonderful time in Florida picking out their new house. I'd also like to thank Sheryl. She and I started at the same time on the school committee, and we've been here a while. And thank you, Sheryl, for all your hard work too.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, I was doing Terry first, then Sheryl, but let's see. I'll address Sheryl later. Let's see. Member Monroe?
I just am so saddened, Terry. I was really looking forward to continuing to learn from you this year, but I appreciate so much, not only you, all the contributions that you've made to the schools, for our kids, the community. I think you've had such a huge impact on the culture of the school committee as well. I'm so appreciative of that. And, you reached out to the parents. You went, far and wide to find people who would be interested in serving and building the school committee. So I really hope we can do you justice moving forward. And I really appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think
I would
go ahead,
just say,
Bob.
Terry, you have the fond moniker of being known as Senator Donovan for your professionalism and your decorum when you bring up topics, and they're usually spot on. And I think that goes back to the perspective you bring from just understanding both of the professional organizations that we deal with, i.e. Council 94 and the teachers. Having had students that have gone through the district, you really brought a great perspective when we sat around the table and discussed things educational. Sometimes we focus on the finance, obviously that's where we are, but you also brought great perspective during the negotiations. But one of the hallmarks is you were always fair and you were always respectful, and that to me is worth its weight in gold. So thanks for all of that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I got everybody.
Can I chime in?
I don't know. Let me see. Of course you can. Go ahead,
I'll
Terry.
be brief.
No, take your time.
Well, it's been my honor and my privilege. I have thoroughly enjoyed. I can't believe it's been over 10 years, because every meeting feels like a fresh opportunity to, learn and contribute. And I wouldn't change any of that for the world. I have to thank Valerie Zurcher, former member of the school committee, who approached me at a Little League game and talked me into this. And she had a confidence in me that I didn't have in myself. I had no idea that I would be able to make any contribution at all. But, I went for it and was rewarded. There's some things that I've learned about being on the school committee. I'm the personification. You don't need to be the perfect parent. Your children don't need to be the perfect students. You just have to have a passion for trying to make a positive contribution to your community in any way that you can. Education is obviously first and foremost. It's been the mission of the district and always will be. A real quality, superior education. And I think we deliver that every day. I've always been mindful of the fact that it is also a workplace. And I've tried to make decisions and give contributions that would allow it to be a place where people want to work, where people are proud to bring their talents, and where people feel safe in their environment. There's one thing, not too long after I joined the school committee, the school committee started wearing gowns at the graduation processional. And I was just thrilled to be able to be there to honor the graduating class and recognize all their accomplishments. But I was the only school committee member that did not have a hood that designated my college degree, because I don't have one. And the first couple of years, I was very self-conscious about that. And then I realized that I represent the people that work in the district, the parents, and the students that will not obtain a college degree, whether it is their choice or not. And I took that as a challenge to be sure that the district was aware that there were alternatives, that there were ways that students could pursue career and vocational education that would enhance the rest of their lives, that would put them in a position to be positive role models in their community and valued employees. So I'm glad I didn't have a hood, because I think I represented a lot of people. And I think that those are kind of my final thoughts about being on the school committee is you don't have to be the perfect parent. Your kids don't have to be the perfect students. You don't have to be a college graduate. You have to be someone that cares about improving the community that we live in and offering something of yourself to the future.
Thank you, Terry. So well said. And
Well said.
you're always a well-spoken, I don't know, you're just always the most well-spoken person. You're always so insightful. You speak, you know what, it's, I don't know, when you speak, I always tell you too, like, especially when we're at contractors, when Terry speaks, everybody listens. it just comes out of out of you. It's so eloquently.
Thank you.
So you're a class act.
Cheryl's turn.
Yep. So we're gonna
Oh my God, I can't follow in those
we're gonna
footsteps.
recognize
Move
Sheryl.
on.
Stop. Stop. We're going to recognize Sheryl. So Sheryl, you've been on this committee for 6.5 years. That's a long time. It's a long time of service to your school district and your community. It's very much appreciated. For me, I know you being an educator, you always brought a different perspective to our discussions and our conversations. Your questions and comments were helpful in making decisions. And your commitment to our schools will always be appreciated. You're going to be missed as a valuable school committee member also. And your service continues. Tomorrow you start on the town council. From one hot pot to the next.
I know, new journey. What's wrong with me?
What's wrong? No. So, and I do want to say, it's going to be nice and valuable to have both you and Lee on our West Greenwich Town Council, because you have experience and knowledge, and I think both of you. How can you not gain a lot of information, insight, and perspectives when you're on the school committee? So I look forward to continuing to work with you in your new role.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then who'd like to address Sheryl? I'm looking for hands. Let's see, Member Monroe.
Sheryl, thank you so much for all of your contributions to the school and the school committee. I know just in the brief time I've been involved with the school committee, it is a huge undertaking. So 6.5 years is no short feat. And, I've really looked forward to you constantly bringing in a lens that I think really represents our student population and our community. I'm hopeful that we can continue to make sure that all of the students are represented, especially student athletes, which you do so well. So I really appreciated that, and so much of your insights into school policy as well have been so valuable. But best of luck to you with your new role, which I'm sure you will have as equal of an impact and be equally as busy, but I really appreciate all your service to our community.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Member Allen?
Yes, I forgot to mention before that I want to congratulate you, Sheryl, on being on the town council. It's a lot of work, but I think you'll do a great job.
Thanks, Diane.
Member Donovan?
Sheryl, I always felt like I had the inside skinny by sitting next to you so that you could get that perspective from an educator, in little snippets, but, enough to help me put things in perspective from somebody who's walking the walk. And your participation has been phenomenal. I've learned a lot from you, and we've shared a lot of laughs. And I'm glad we got to sit next to each other, and glad we didn't get reprimanded by the principal. And Lee, that goes for you too. Congratulations, Sheryl. You'll be magnificent on the town council. How lucky is the town of West Greenwich? Congratulations.
Thanks, Terry. I appreciate that.
Go ahead, Jim.
I know Sheryl and I had a chance to chat today. She stopped by to get her gifts from the school department after work. So we've kind of had our conversation, but I just wanted to publicly also thank Sheryl. I think Sheryl and Terry have both pushed my thinking in a lot of different areas, which I actually appreciate more than you know. It's super important to understand different perspectives on things so that you can make the right decisions. And I've always appreciated your willingness to do that for me. I feel like before long, going to a West Greenwich Town Council meeting will be like going to a school committee meeting. And Sheryl, I also want to say that I still wear the socks at that special time of year.
Yes,
Throwing that out
glad to hear it. Never throw those out.
Never.
Thanks so much. I've learned so much on the school committee, and I appreciate all of you. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I cannot mimic that speech Terry gave. That was phenomenal, but I will miss it. I will definitely miss it. But like I said, I'll still be there, and we'll be at meetings together still. And I'm looking forward to the next adventure. So thanks again, everybody. It's been great.
Thanks, Sheryl. Thanks, Terry. Okay. Let's see. We'll go on to the consent agenda.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Under consent, we have the approval of the regular meeting minutes from April 27th. We also had executive session minutes from the same date. We have one appointment, which is an athletic appointment, head coach, girls softball at the junior high school. The statement pending receipt of all mandatory district paperwork can be removed from the vote as we have since received everything that is necessary and her work has already started. We have a couple of leaves of absences. One was expected, one not expected. But we've posted for that replacement for the unexpected one. We have a resignation for the purpose of retirement. I have also put in a list of non-renewals for both certified and non-certified staff. These must be done, the certified staff, they must be done by June 1st. That's the law. And there will be some staffing reductions as a result of enrollment numbers and requested courses, particularly at the high school level. We must notify Council 94 members prior to June 1st as well. That's in their contract. The layoffs there are the individuals that were hired for one-year only positions to replace people that were on leave of absence or for individuals that were in the one-year only COVID positions that we created for the extra cleaning. I will say that some of these people may be called back as a result of movement at the job fair, but I don't know that for sure. So we are protected by having these completed before the legal deadline. We have a sabbatical request. Again, that was expected, budgeted, predicted. And we have a request for a job share. The teacher had let me know that this was coming in advance of the budgetary development process. So again, all of these things, for the most part, have been expected and are incorporated into the budget that we presented to the towns for a vote. We also have our monthly bills and a homeschool approval, returning family. I believe this is for the next school year, grades 8 and 10.
Okay. I know we need to pull the regular meeting minutes and the executive session minutes because we had a few members missing. So we'll pull those. And then Member McFadden, your hand is up.
So Jim, I always ask this question. We don't get our state funding until June 30th, until they pass the budget. So you are extremely confident that our layoffs are going to be able to support our budget in lieu of the fact that we haven't actually gotten the final state funding yet, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
The layoffs, we always do a few extras just to cover us in the event that there's a reduction. And because our budget was approved, we're not in the same circumstance that we were in last year. So the layoffs are going out before June 1st. We're covered.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like anything pulled or questions? I think everybody's good. Okay, so if we can have a motion to approve the consent agenda, less the regular meeting minutes of April 27th and less the executive session minutes of April 27th. Okay, Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Donovan second.
Donovan seconds. Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Allen?
Aye.
Member McFadden?
Aye.
Member Pasillo?
Aye.
Member Monroe?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. And then we'll do the vote separate. So we'll do a, if I can have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 27th.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, Green moves, Monroe seconds. Okay, we'll take a roll call vote on those. Member Donovan?
Abstain due to absence.
Yep. Member Green?
Aye.
Member Allen?
Abstain due to absence.
Yep. Member McFadden?
Aye.
Member Pasillo?
Aye.
Member Monroe?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. And then if we have a motion to approve the executive session minutes of April 27th.
Donovan so moved.
Donovan moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Member Pasillo seconds. I'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Allen?
Abstain due to absence.
Member McFadden?
Aye.
Member Pasillo?
Aye.
Member Monroe?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. We have a few pieces of correspondence in the packet, discipline reports, some school committee resolutions from Smithfield, communication from the superintendent to the town councils on the charter review committee volunteers, and the district website announcement for the charter review committee volunteers. Any questions or comments on the correspondence? Member McFadden, you still have your hand up, but I'm not sure if it's up from last time.
You can take that down.
Okay, thanks. Okay, everybody's good? All right, we'll go to the 2021 budget projection.
Okay, this is the May projection that is that you receive on a monthly basis. This is the May projection we issued earlier in the month. The put a hold on all purchasing as we begin to wind down the fiscal year, if you can believe that. In as typical in the note to the committee that we're starting to get a harder look at the balances based on activity and significant. You can see that the wage and benefits, we're seeing the results of, some of the movement in the FTE, whether it's a full-time FTE or less FTE based on decisions that individuals made. And the same with the benefits. Remembering that we move into the HSA on the second half of the year, and we're starting to see that full impact of that take hold in the budget. The other ones are, again, kind of typical: supplies and materials, anticipating a little more in the balance there for fiscal year end, and some of that's due to just the nature of the school year that we had. A lot of consumables and things like that weren't as used up as at the beginning of the year, and it kind of tallied over to the end, just due to the attendance or the students who were participating in class. So other than that, it's overall showing a positive operations balance of 178,000 for year to date, based on the on the shortfalls in the revenue, looking at 156,000. So still a very positive fund balance that we'll end up with June 30th.
Okay, questions, comments? Member McFadden?
So my recollection of pending COVID money, which is for next fiscal year, which is not the topic we're on right now, but I don't see next year's budget on here, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Has anyone heard what our COVID funding will be for next fiscal year?
Again, this is legal counsel, Mr. McFadden. If it's not on the agenda, it should not be.
Well, then that's fine with me. I'm glad you're on. Thank you very much. Done.
So, Paul, under unfinished business, 6B, it's a 21-22 budget, so we'll take your questions then. Okay. Any other questions on the 2021 budget? Everybody's good? Okay. Monthly status reports. Any questions, comments on those? Member Monroe?
I just wanted to make a quick comment on Jim's status update about the free summer options for students, the camps, and the enrichment activities. I just want to say I think that's phenomenal. I know a lot of families have looked forward to Camp Invention and have paid for it. So the fact that that's available free to kids, and then the different project-based learning opportunities, I think it's a really great way to make learning fun and ensure that we don't see extended gaps over the summer. So just amazing, Jim. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's see. I'm not sure who is next. So Member Green?
Sorry, just trying to unmute. Jim, your status report was so full of stuff, but I just have to ask you about, and I know we've discussed this before, but the LEAP pathways, is that an actual pathway? I noticed that you were on the, could you just explain that a little bit further? Because I know the big buzzword now is like the anti-racist, the equitable, and I just wanted you to like, just maybe explain the LEAP pathway a little bit.
Yeah, so it's not a pathway in the sense of
Okay.
pathways that we know about, at the high school, like a career and technical pathway.
Okay.
It is really designed to give school districts the research and high leverage practices for accelerating learning when we return to school in the fall. Because we know that we have kids who have not been in school for in-person learning 5 days a week for the whole year. We have a lot of families that chose distance learning. We have an increase in social emotional needs. So this is really about looking at the needs of kids, which we know across the state, across the nation have grown, both academically and social emotionally, and providing us with recommendations for programs and supports to address those needs from day one to accelerate their academic learning and address their social emotional learning needs. That's what it's all about. So we're using, for example, we'll talk about the COVID money that's available, the stimulus money that's available under the 22 budget. But a lot of the things that we are earmarking for the use of those funds are tied directly to the research and recommendations from the LEAP task force.
Okay. So it also
including
okay.
summer programs, by the way, that Andrea just talked about. So the high
Right.
summer programs is part of the plan.
Okay. Some of the wording in there it looks like it's more geared towards the urban core, but it talks about addressing the systemic racial inequities in the state's educational system.
So there is a big push for ensuring that the supports are available, targeting the most high need population. So students with special education needs, students from low income areas, students of color. So those are groups of kids that performance-wise historically have lagged behind. So there's a push to ensure that all of those populations are targeted for these supports. We, in our district, we're targeting all kids.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Member Allen? Diane, you're muted.
Now-
There you go. Nope. There you go.
Okay. I just wanted to address the vaccines. I was glad to see that most of the staff has gotten their vaccines. I've gotten mine also. But my concern is with children getting the vaccine. I'm really opposed to it. And I hope we're not pushing it here at the school and letting parents decide what they want their children to do. I just don't think it's been tested enough for children. I'm old, so it doesn't matter that I've got my 2 shots and stuff. And that's what I was concerned about, how that was being handled, especially with 12 to 16-year-olds.
I can address it. So I know the 16 to 18-year-old vaccine clinic, which has already happened, that caused some conversation across the state because there's actually a law that says 16-year-old kids have the ability to authorize the vaccine themselves. So that was problematic with several parent groups. In our district, we sent out the survey to all families and asked the parents to authorize, to indicate that they were interested in having their children get vaccinated. It was very clearly stated that it was voluntary. It's an offering. We're not pushing in one direction or the other. It is completely voluntary, and we required parental consent, regardless of age, for any school age child. We did not have a lot of students that participated in that clinic, but we actually had a number of students who were previously vaccinated because it was available to students over the age of 16 prior to that clinic. In terms of the 12 to 15 age range, I simply sent out a survey, again, super clear. It is voluntary. It's a parent's choice. If they wanted to take advantage of it, then they signed the document, and those are the only people that we sent the information to for the actual vaccine clinic, which hasn't occurred yet. If they are not interested for whatever reason, I don't need to debate it. They just don't need to fill out the form, but that was the message. So there are some families that want their children vaccinated. We're providing that opportunity. There are others that think differently. No questions asked. They just haven't signed up, and we're not pushing the issue at all.
Okay. And they won't be targeted in any way if they're not taking the vaccine?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? I don't see any other hands up. Okay. We'll go on to new business. So we have the PFM Financial Advisors LLC bond schedule options presentation.
Yes, I'll do
Bob,
the
you want
intro.
to, yeah, you want to start and then you can introduce Steve.
Sure.
Okay.
So when the school committee endeavored on the capital improvement project, we started back in 2018. And central to that, the success of the project is, regardless of the number, is the financing models. And Steve and his firm have provided, every model that we've requested based on feedback from the communities and in the value of the project, and in looking and providing insight on market conditions and the type of tools that we could use to meet our objectives. I don't know, Jim, Tish, and I probably met with Steve, I don't know, 10, 12, 15, 20 times over the past 2 years, but he's been a real source of knowledge for us, and has exercised a lot of patience. And all along we said, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So here we are. Just to remind the committee, this presentation was in part born out of a discussion a couple of meetings ago, where we're at the point where we're going to choose which schedule we want to operate under to fund the projects. And the school committee asked that they weigh in and vote on that decision. So we've asked Steve to join us and present the options available to the committee, and we have a recommendation, and we open it from there. And I don't know if Jim, you want to say anything?
Nope, you covered it.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Jim. Could everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Bob, do you mind putting up the PowerPoint for me?
A second, Bob, I'll make you a co-admin.
I think I gotta have him do it. I'm not that technically savvy to do everything, talk and flip slides.
You can probably share your screen now, Bob.
Can everybody see that there?
Yes.
Exit away
Yes.
from it. Okay, that's the one we want, Steve.
Yeah, if you could go to the first slide, if you could just make it a little bigger, that'd be great.
Okay, hold on.
There's a plus button at the bottom. See how it's grayed.
Yeah.
Steve, before you start, I just want to mention one thing to my school committee members. So I cannot see hands and whatnot right now because the screen is up. So let's let Steve get through his presentation, and then we go back to the regular screen. I can acknowledge questions. Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Great. Thanks, Bob. You can go to the first slide. Again, thank you, everyone. My name is Steve Massaroni. I work for PFM Financial Advisors. We work with about 22 cities and towns in Rhode Island, as well as a couple school districts. And I've been working on school bonds probably for the past 15 to 20 years as well. I've worked on some of the older bond issues for the district back in the late 90s, as well as the Rybeck bonds in 2006 and in 2015 and 16. So I've worked with the district for a number of years. Just on the slide, brief overview. I know most of this stuff you folks know, but the bonds will be issued through Rhode Island Health and Ed, which is the state conduit for school construction bonds. The district expects to receive approximately 66% aid. That's sort of worst case, and could meet some criteria for bonuses that would bring it up to 75%. Under the new program, it's been a couple of years now, there's a pay-go component. Under the old program, it was simply a reimbursement program where you would issue the debt, you'd get reimbursed on an annual basis through RIDE. As most folks probably know, the state passed their large bond issue a few years back, and they give districts a portion of the state aid upfront in the form of a pay-go subsidy or grant. The The balance of the aid is paid over time. The bonds will likely be sold with the premium. We'll talk about that in a bit. And as Bob mentioned, we've ran several models over the past several months, really with the goal to minimize the impact on the member towns during construction, as well as locking in rates in what is still a very low interest rate environment. So Bob, you flip to slide scenario 1. This probably looks familiar to most folks. This is sort of the base case we've been running since inception. It's a 2-bond scenario. And what this basically shows is that we would issue 1 bond of approximately $10 million or $9.1 million in the summer, August, and then we would follow up with the second bond in November of 2022 for approximately $5 million. I mentioned that bonds are sold with premium. The reason why, if you add up 9,165,000 and 5,110,000, it only equals 14,275,000. The difference is bond premium that will be generated, and that's driven by the market, and it's pretty common. The benefit of premiums is you simply issue less bonds, so it sort of helps the overall plan of finance. But this scenario hasn't changed much. You'll notice there's no impact in 2022 in debt service on the far right corner or column. In 2023, there's about $376,000 of interest that's due. We assumed the project would be complete in 2024 and thereby eligible for reimbursement. The good thing with the RIDE program is you don't lose reimbursement during those early years. It just accrues down until the project's substantially complete. So you will receive that state aid in 2024. And what we do is structure with a little bit of a larger bond payment in that first year to offset the aid, because the goal is to keep the debt level and the cost to the member towns level. And you'll see under this scenario, it's approximately $360,000 per year once the bond is issued. Another benefit of this sort of 2-bond scenario is you don't have to issue the second bond until you need the money. So for whatever reason, if the project is delayed, we could delay that second issuance. Conversely, if the project's accelerated, we could speed up that second bond issue. So it provides some flexibility in the event of delays or acceleration of plan. And the other big thing is, if it is delayed, we'll talk about the 1-bond scenario in a second. There's some risk in 2024. So let's turn to the next slide, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So this is a scenario 2. It's a 1-bond scenario, assuming the 66%, and clearly the debt service is lower.
I think we lost you, Steve.
I think Steve froze. Maybe you can sign out and sign back in again.
Am I back?
You're back.
You're back.
Go back.
I don't know what happened there. So I was saying, clearly with the 1-bond scenario, there's lower debt service, 300,000 compared to 360. And again, the reason for the lower debt service in this scenario is because we're issuing the full amount at the lower interest rate of a 281 versus the 2-bond scenario that the second bond we assumed a slightly higher interest rate with the expectation that rates would go up. If rates stay the same, the 2-bond scenario debt service will look similar to this bond at the end of the day. The debt service may be slightly higher because we are issuing 2 bonds and there's a little more expense to issue 2 bonds versus 1. But at the end of the day, the net debt service will look pretty much the same or close to the same. The risks with this the 1-bond scenario is really the delay, if the project's delayed. You'll notice we have a $2.3 million debt service payment, principal payment in fiscal 24. And again, the reason why we structure that payment is that you'll get a windfall of state aid in 24 once the project's complete. So what we do is we offset that with the principal, again, with the goal to have level debt service in the out years, so that there's no spikes for the member towns. So again, if the project's delayed for whatever reason, or the aid is reduced for whatever reason, then there could be some concern going into 24, making up that big principal payment. The other thing about the one bond scenario, I think most folks know, is that you're not guaranteed the bonus points until the project is near completion. So if you issue a bond out of the box with the expectation of getting 66 or 75% aid, and those numbers aren't realized, that could impact the structure of the overall bond. With the two bond scenario, we'll know more by November of 2022 relative to how much we think, or the district thinks, they'll receive in those bonus points. So again, I think the two bond scenario provides some flexibility to deal with some unknowns as this project moves forward. Bob, you can turn to the next scenario. Scenario 3 is the two bond scenario, assuming 75% state aid. Really, this is, again, best case, worst case. At 75% reimbursement level, the debt service drops by $100,000 when you compare it to scenario 1. So, the bonus points are important. They move the needle on debt service. While the PAYGO is important because it lowers your debt service a bit, at the end of the day, it comes down to these bonus points. And if the district's able to achieve some of these bonus points, certainly makes a definite impact on the overall cost to the taxpayers. And again, the last slide is is similar with the one bond scenario. Bob, if you just turn to that one bond scenario, where again, this illustrates the cost benefit of the additional aid points. So I talk quickly. I apologize. It's not because it's late. It's only because I talk quickly. But happy to answer questions. Time-wise with this project, with the Rybeck bond program, it generally takes 3 months. We've targeted, whether you do one bond or two bonds, we've targeted a mid to late August closing. That's when the funds will be available for these projects. It's my understanding the PAYGO, you can get at that money a bit earlier than August, talking with the state folks. So again, happy to answer questions.
Steve, can you just address the scenario that after our many conversations, we agreed would be our recommendation?
Yeah, if you go back, Bob, to scenario 1, two bond scenario. And again, several benefits to this scenario. I think several benefits. Again, number one is we're able to structure with no payments in fiscal 22. There would have been a small interest payment in 2022, but we've capitalized that because it was a very modest amount. So there's no impact in 2022. 23 is manageable. And if you look at 23's number, once the bond's up and running, the member towns will realize a slight reduction, but not much, but it's a very level cost to the member towns. There's no spikes. And it's below the original projections. Originally we were projecting $400,000 annually. That was late last year. Some of the scenarios we were running with interest rates a bit higher. This scenario is 360 compared to 400. It's level, it's clean. And again, I think the other benefit of this scenario really is that second bond we can structure and modify if needed, in the event that anything on the project construction side changes, whether it's the timeline, the cost, whatever the case may be, we'll have some flexibility to change that second small bond in the event we need to structure around. I'll give you a good example. The 2024 on the second bond, we have a principal payment there. Let's just say the state aid is delayed. We could issue the bonds with no principal payment there. So there's strategies we can use to again, manage the project and manage the bond issue. And again, the big uncertainty here is the 75 versus 66, because that definitely impacts the bond structure. And again, the overall cost with this scenario will be a bit higher. However, if rates stay where they are, then it perhaps would be comparable to the one bond scenario. I've been telling.
This is the worst case scenario, right? The 66.
And this is under the worst case scenario. If you get 75% reimbursement on that number goes down by about $100,000 to 268 or 268,000 per year. So again, worst case 360 versus best case of 260 or 270. And I was just talking about interest rates. We're in a low interest rate environment. We've been in a low interest rate environment. There's been spikes with COVID and other global events over the past several years, but for the most part, we continue to be in a very low interest rate environment. Rates, some folks think they're going to go up. I've been saying they're going to go up for the past 10 years, and they haven't gone up. So that second bond, certainly, while we've built in a little cushion in the event that rates go up, you never know. No one has a crystal ball where rates will be next year. But I think you're hedging yourself a bit by locking in most of your bonds today and still managing sort of those first 2 years with no aid offset.
I'm scrolling to see if I can. Okay, I can see hands. Okay, Member McFadden, you have a question.
So on the first bond, scenario 1 for 9.1 million, I think I heard that money wasn't going to be available till August. If that's true, Bob, how do we plan on paying the HVAC vendor throughout prior to getting that money?
So we will access the PayGo, and we will also be using, I just want to make sure I'm okay. And we will also be using the OPM Downs. They're actually going to set up a schedule of payments. So it will be a monthly payment to the vendor, who is ATC, was awarded the contract. So it's not going to be like, they did, they did a bunch of work and they're going to walk in and say, we want $1 million today. They're going to have a schedule of payments that will go for the duration of the project. And again, I think as Steve pointed out, and as we know in our MOA with RIDE, that we've got $2.3 million worth of PayGo. So once we decide on, we get this thing really rolling and we receive an invoice from ATC, the vendor who's doing the project, we take that invoice, we submit it to RIDE, they cut the check and return the funds to us within, I've had it as short as 3 days later.
Have they said anything about the ATC, that is, about how much upfront money they're going to require?
No, they discussed. My understanding is they are fully aware of the financing situation that we're in that's why Downs, the OPM, sets up the payment of schedules on a monthly basis, so that they're not doing that kind of do a bunch of work, send in an invoice, and they think they're going to get $1 million. It's here's the $4 million over the next, 6 or 7 months. This is how you're going to get paid.
Okay. So did I understand correct? Is it Steve? I'm sorry. Your name again?
Yeah.
The gentleman that gave the presentation?
Yes, Steve.
Yes.
Steve, the 9.1 million bond, the first bond, if we go with scenario 1, which has an even payment schedule, we'd be getting that money in August, I think you said. Our first bond payment year, so I need to hear that, and you probably mentioned it, but whatever, I'm deaf or stupid or both. What was you can't quite estimate yet because you don't know what percent reimbursement we're going to get. So it could be either 360K or 260K for the first year. Does that sound right?
Well, so, yeah, so under the first, the two bond scenario, there's no debt service in fiscal 22. Your first interest payment is will be fiscal 23, where there's a payment due. That's $376,000. That won't change.
Okay.
What changes is the out years beginning in 24, and that'll change based on what the reimbursement is. If it's 66%, debt service in those out years will be $360,000, and if it's 75%, debt service in those out years will be about $300,000. So
Okay.
first, 23 interest, because there's no state offset, assuming we're at an interest rate of 287 when we issue these bonds in August, that's what the debt service will be in 23.
Mm-hmm. And you said we were going to get the cash for the 9.1 in August, correct?
Correct.
Bob, what kind of bond retirement do we have in the next couple of years? Do we have any?
No, as Steve mentioned earlier, we're now in the refund bond. I don't have that right at my fingertips, but we're in the couple $100,000 range on our debt service. That's declining annually.
But Bob, when does that pay out?
I want to say that is done.
I think it's in the 20s.
Yeah, it is.
I don't have it handy either, Jim. I apologize. I believe that was a 20-year bond that was issued back in 06 or 07. So it's probably 26 or 27 that it matures.
Yeah. Let me just.
And that's
And
it.
the amortization schedule is getting smaller and smaller in our payments, right, till 2027, right?
Correct.
Correct.
So if we get 75 reimbursement and we're around 280 and there is retirement of the bond gradually to 2027. Okay. Yep. Oh, what are we leaning towards right now? Is it scenario one because it has a more even payment schedule in the outlying years? Is that what we're leaning for?
Well, they both have even schedules in the out years, but what I think that the two bond scenario does, it just provides a little safety net in the event of some uncertainty relative to the construction project, and it's a little more affordable during construction. So, Bob, if you want to just turn to the one bond scenario again, the next scenario two. With issuing all the bonds out of the box in one series, you're going to have 400,000 of debt service in 22 and 550,000 of debt service in 23 because you've issued all the bonds. So we have to have a payment in 22, and 23 is larger than the 376 that I just mentioned. So again, the benefit of the two bond scenario is it's a little more affordable in 23 and 22 and 23, and again, provide some flexibility in the event of any delays in the project.
And they're 20-year bonds?
Correct. They're 20 years of amortization. So what we assume for the first bond, it's a 22-year bond, 2 years interest only, and then it amortizes to synchronize with the state aid. And then the second bond would be a 21-year bond with 20 years of amortization with the same plan to synchronize during with the state aid offset.
Is that your dog, Fido, Bob?
That's my dog. I apologize.
That's all right. I enjoy pets. All right.
I have the
So,
debt, Paul, I have the debt service summary in front of me from our budget binder. So, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like 2029 is the last payment for the refunded bond that we're paying on.
Correct.
and it goes from 152, 895 and 22, 148, 371 and 23, 147, 66 and 24, 135, 208 and 25, 130, 21 and 26, 122, 5 and 27, 117, 54 and 28, and then 110, 7, 36 and 29. Just wanted to share that since I had it in front of me.
Has this presentation or the information of it been forwarded to or given to the treasurer for the town of Exeter? Huh? Anybody can hear me?
Yep. I can add, we've shared documents during the run up to this conversation. I can't, without going into my emails and seeing exactly which schedules they've requested them at different times, always with the caveat that this is what we're exploring. But, you know, we would go based on if there's a vote tonight and an approval of a schedule, we would go from draft to, you know, this is the approved schedule. So everything to this point has been draft.
Right, right. The only thing is, you know, you'd always like to, they're the guy that actually got to come up with the money, right? So it's always nice to hear from them that they have a preference one way or the other. I kind of like to think of my vote as being nothing more than a stamp of approval, because, you know, the financial aspect of this really is owned by the townships. So you're telling me, Bob, that you sent the schedules to them and you didn't get any feedback from them. Does that sound reasonable?
Their biggest concern has been the payment in FY22, which we've indicated is likely not going to happen because of the schedule that we're presenting and recommending tonight.
All right. Well, yeah, that's good, but it would have been nice if they said, we're good with a particular scenario, which for me, it sounds like scenario 1 is the recommendation, or am I wrong?
Correct. That's the recommendation, is scenario 1.
Scenario 1, 2 bonds, first payment is in 2023.
Correct. And I will say this is what I would say was the base case. I mean, we've been running this since day one. You know, we looked at other alternatives with bond anticipation notes, with some other structuring changes. But again, this has always been sort of the base case. And I think I told Bob 2 years ago that, you know, this may not be what we end up with, but, you know, fast forward 18 months and it's actually where we ended up, what we've been showing the district really since inception.
And you're saying the interest rates are really down, and we could see, you know, the 75%, you know, benefit, and, you know, which would drive us to the 280 for both towns combined, right?
Yeah, this is total net debt service, which is allocated to the member towns, correct?
So it'd be like 140 a town.
Under the 75% scenario, with 2 bonds, it's $270,000 a year.
Right. So 270 divided by 2, right?
Right.
So that's like 137,000, some such nonsense like that, per town.
Correct.
Or some, actually lower than that.
135.
135, thanks. I can't do math. So 135,000 per town, you know, looking at it from a blue sky perspective, you know, slight reduction in bond. I mean, the townspeople approved it. We do the best as far as trying to come up with a payment schedule that least impacts the tax situation. I think it sounds like you guys did your due diligence, to me.
And just to
so I'm going to shut up.
The 135 is just an estimate, because that's splitting it in half. But of course, we always apportion the payments based on the enrollment, whatever strategy we use for splitting the cost with the two towns based on enrollment is how we also split the debt.
Sure. At least today it's yeah, you're right. So the apportionment, and we're thinking about changing the apportionment under the
Correct.
The Charter Commission. Yeah.
Right.
I got it. Right. All right. I think I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, Member Green?
Yeah, my only question was, I'm having trouble, it's difficult to see. I was wondering if it's possible to get a copy. I can't see it through the presentation that well. Oh, he just did.
Bob just enlarged it.
Thanks, Bob.
Can you all see it now?
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Can we share this presentation with the committee so they have it?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Bob, I sent you before the meeting a slightly different version. I added a couple bullets. And I didn't realize we're already in May, not April. I think I dated it April 11. But certainly feel free to share that to the school committee.
All right. I just want to call up the revised.
Yeah, there it is.
If you could share it, Bob, with the treasurer in Exeter, that would be great too.
Right. I think the goal is to have a vote though on which one we want tonight so that we can say this is the one.
Yeah.
Well, this is the one with the variable being the reimbursement rate, which can only get better from the 66% schedule.
Correct.
That was 66%, not 56%, right?
66.
66.
Correct.
66. All right. I
Correct.
just want to make sure of the numbers. It's only going to get better from the 66.
Are there any questions, comments by members? The two members who had their hands up, they jumped to the top of my screen so I could see them. If anybody else has any questions, just go ahead and ask. 'Cause I can't. I remember Donovan. I see now. I have you. Yep. Go ahead.
Steve, for this layperson, could you explain the terminology premium?
Yeah, good question. So in a low interest rate environment, investors are looking for coupon protection. So what they do is they're willing to actually give you more than $1 for $1 of bonds. So they might give you 110% for a bond as opposed to 100%. And it doesn't affect your cost. You pay slightly higher interest rates to those bondholders because they're giving you more money. But at the end of the day, you issue less bonds to meet your project threshold. So we're able to issue $14,275,000 in bonds and get you project proceeds of 15.487, which you'll see on this slide. If you add up the 9,165,000 and the 5,110, that gives you 14,275. But it'll get you the project amount that you need of 15,487,246, and then you add the pay-go of 2,312,000, and it gets you to the 17,800. So it's market driven, it's allowed, it's common, and it's investor preference. It's what the investors want. We've been in interest rate environments where investors don't want premium, but seeing that we're so close to issuing this debt, and this is the way bond investors are buying bonds, we thought it was appropriate to structure it like we think it'll sell come August. And the way to think of premium is just a replacement for proceeds. So bond proceeds and premium is all proceeds that can be used on the project. And there's one other benefit to premium is that, two other benefits, not to get too deep into it, is one is you issue less bonds, so it's less on your balance sheet, which always is better. And the second thing is there's what's called some call option value in those higher coupons, where it was similar to what we did in 2016 when we did the refinancing of some of the old 2006 bonds. It was because we had some premium bonds there, and we were able to call those in the future for additional savings to the district, which we took advantage of a few years back.
So is there any kind of, for lack of a better word, like a prepayment penalty if we were able to look at refinancing later down the road that was favorable?
Yeah, so bonds have a 10-year non-call provision. Again, similar to your bonds issued back in 06, there was a 10-year, or 07, there was a 10-year non-call. So during the first 10 years, you can't call the bonds in. But after that 10-year anniversary, you can call the bonds in if it's economic. So these will have the same 10-year, what we call a 10-year par call, where you can call them on or after 10 years with no penalty. And
Thank
in
you.
this situation, for example, the 22 bonds, they're really a 22-year bond with 20 years of amortization. So you'll be amortize 8 years of principal, and you'll be at that call date where, again, potentially if rates are lower, you could refund those for savings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Steve or Bob or Jim? Everybody's good. Steve, I have a question, or Bob, for once again, for our motion, when we make a motion here. I just want to make sure I have all the information correct if we go with the requested, I'm sorry, the recommended version. So I have the two bond amounts, they're obviously in front of us, and the dates. And then it says the total of the two bond issues shall not exceed. So in our motion, are we using shall not exceed the 14,275? Are we going to say 17,800? Like, is that 14,275 going to change or can change? I just want to make sure our motion is covered.
Yeah, it will change. So if the vote, and I defer to the solicitor as well, I would, if you're going to vote on the two bond scenario, I would keep it to, we approve the two bond scenario with a project amount not to exceed 17,800. The way your legislation is drafted, because you get the PAYGO as a grant, any grants come off the top. So you can't, for example, if you get 2.3 million in a grant, you can't then issue 17,800,000 in bonds. You have to issue the 17,800,000 less the 2.3. It's the same thing with the premium as well. That's how it all works. But there's a lot of moving parts with the two bonds. So again, I defer to the solicitor, but I would recommend that you approve the two bond scenario.
So it should,
with a project amount not to exceed 17,800.
So somebody's going to need to help us with a vote because the wording in front of us is not right.
So can I just make sure that I have it right, Steve? The motion, estimated amount of 9.165 million bond to be issued on or about August of 21. A second bond with an estimated amount of 5.11 million to be issued on or about November of 22. The total project costs shall not exceed 17.8 million. That's what you're recommending.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense as to what, just because I'm not sure you want to put a number on the bond amount, I believe is what Mr. Massaroni is suggesting, just because in case you do get some additional aid, then you'd be obligated to go through with the bonds at that number, where perhaps you might not have to go that high. Is that correct, Mr. Massaroni?
Correct. And the other thing is, if premium's less and we have to issue a little more bonds to get to the 17,800, those two bond amounts might change a bit.
So we shouldn't even put the bond amounts in at all. Just the two bonds.
I think it would be fine as such, right? If you go with the estimated bond again, as long as you have the amount not to exceed the 17.8 million, the two bond scenario as discussed, with the project amount not to exceed 17.8.
And I believe that's consistent with the resolution that Karen Grandy drafted, where she says, just uses a not to exceed 17.8 in one or more series of bonds, generally is how she drafts her resolutions as well.
Member McFadden, do you have your hand up from before? Or you have another question? Jim, if you can write a motion, because I absolutely do not know what the motion is.
So I think from what I'm hearing, it says, for the purpose of financing the 17.84 million of capital projects as voted on and approved by the towns of Exeter and West Greenwich at the April 12th, 2021 all-day referendum, the school committee approves the school bond assumption 2 bond schedule as presented by PFM Financial with
Hold
the
on,
total-
slow down.
Bond assumption,
The school committee approves the school bond assumption
2 bond schedule
2 bond schedule. Yep.
as presented by PFM Financial with the total project costs not
Okay.
to exceed 17.84 million.
Hold on.
Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, I think that should work.
With a total project cost not to exceed.
17.84 million.
I'm comfortable with that as well.
Okay. Are all
I
the
have a
members
question.
yeah, I didn't know if your hand was still up, Paul. Go ahead.
So you mentioned for the two bond approach, there was scenario 1 versus scenario 3 or something. How do we identify scenario 1 where the first bond payment is only until 2023?
So under
Or are
both,
we?
yeah, under both scenario 1 and scenario 3, which are the 2 bond scenarios, the only change is the reimbursement of 75 or 66% does not impact 22 or 23 at all, because that's just, there's no interest in 22 as we talked about, and 23 is only interest only with no state offset, so it's not impacted.
So
I'm sorry.
So how are we going to identify by motion what it sounds like the preference for scenario 1, or do we?
Yeah. So just to clarify a bit, we won't know, or the district won't know what your final reimbursement ratio is until the project is near substantially complete. That's one of the challenges throughout the state, to be honest with you, is that it's difficult to plan some of these projects when the state won't guarantee, the bonus points. You have a good idea of what you will get. So again, scenario 1 and scenario 3 are both 2 bond scenarios. The reimbursement of 66 versus 75 is out of, it's not in my hands, or, I guess it's in your hands, but that'll depend on you meeting the criteria for those bonus points. But that doesn't impact the fact that we're going to do 2 bonds. Whether you get 66 or 75, the recommendation is to do a 2 bond scenario.
All right.
In the 2 bond scenario, there's no payment in FY22. I think that's what Mr. McFadden is.
Correct. Whether it's 1 or 3, no impact in 22.
Correct.
All right. I'm good.
Okay. Member Donovan, is your hand up again, or it just hasn't been taken down? Nope. You're okay. You're good. Any other questions or comments? Everybody's good?
Yep.
Okay. I'll read the motion that Jim gave. Let me see. Hope I have it right. So if we can have a motion for the purpose of financing the 17,840,000 of capital projects as voted on and approved by the towns of Exeter and West Greenwich at the April 12th, 2021 all-day referendum, the school committee approves the school bond assumption 2 bond schedule as presented by PFM Financial with a total project cost not to exceed 17,840,000.
So moved.
Okay, Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Donovan second.
Donovan seconds. Okay, any further discussion?
I would just say that I think the fixed debt service, the stability of the debt service would be attractive and beneficial to both of the communities.
Okay. We'll take our roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Donovan, I.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Jim and Bob, for all your work on those scenarios and coming up, doing your due diligence, coming up with the best option for us in the towns.
You're
Thank you,
welcome. Take
everyone.
care, everyone.
Thanks, Steve. We'll be in touch.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Okay, I gotta make sure I set my screen back. Okay, I'm good. Okay. Okay, we'll go to item B, policy 6242 administrative salaries amendment.
Okay, so this amendment, I think before we look at the actual policy, I provided some backup information. We're looking specifically at the position of Director of Maintenance, and the average salary of that position in the district, and I provided the spreadsheet for you. After I subtract out the low and the high, which we typically do, the average salary is $88,524. The previous range for that position in our district was significantly below the average salary for that position. So we always look at the average salaries and make sure that our administrators are in the range of at least the average for the position. So this simply adjusts the low and high calculator for that position so that the average salary of 88,524 falls within the range for that position in the district. And again, you know, if you read the policy 6242, it says that the salary ranges shall be reviewed at least every 3 years. We try to do that very frequently to make sure that our administrators are getting paid what the comparable positions across the state are getting paid. And that one is the one that was completely out of range. So an adjustment is necessary, in my opinion. And so it's just a simple adjustment of the calculator amount. And then we'll do a separate vote of the salary adjustment at a different meeting. But I didn't want to prepare that before the school committee looked at the adjustment and agreed on the policy change.
So Jim, the salary that was in the packet I think it was a few meetings ago where we did the administrative salaries. Is this adjust that?
It will need to adjust it. This will
Okay.
simply adjust the range. And then as a result of the adjusted range, we'll make an adjustment of that salary so it's within the range.
Gotcha. Okay, any questions? Everybody's good? Okay, so if we can have a motion to approve policy 6242 administrative salaries as amended.
So moved.
Green moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Allen seconds. Take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
I.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so now we have a whole bunch of contracts. We're going to do one at a time like we usually do. Bob, take it
Sure.
away.
Okay, this was a bid year for many of the service contracts. In addition, the pickup truck that the school committee approved several meetings ago is included in the bid recommendations. On the last page, I have the bids listed in the order in which they show up on the agenda. And I have for each bid, the bidders. In some cases, there was only one bidder. And then I have the recommendation is for the 3 years of service. So in the detail, there's the annual, and then in the actual motion, it's the for the 3 years. So beginning at the top, bid 1 was for the inspection and maintenance of the fire alarm system. So this is actually testing to make sure the fire alarm will go off when there's a smoke or fire. The incumbent is electronic alarms. We had 3 bidders: AM Electric, Encore, and electronic alarms. And you can see by the detail that electronic alarms was the low bidder. And the recommendation is to award the electronic alarms bid 2021-16 in the amount of $6,825 for $6,825 for the inspection and maintenance of fire alarm systems for all buildings, contract periods FY22 through 2024.
Okay, any questions for the fire alarm system? Oh, Jim, sorry, go ahead.
Bob, this, just so that we're clear on this, the 6825 is the total of all 3 years, right? So the actual cost per year is 1/3 of that? I just want to make sure.
Correct.
Yeah, that was a total.
Yep. Correct.
Any questions, comments for Bob on the fire alarm system? Everybody's good? Okay, so if we can have a motion to award electronic alarms bid 20-21-16 in the amount of $6,825 for the inspection and maintenance of fire alarm systems for all buildings, contract period FY 2022 to 2024.
So moved.
Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Green seconds. Take a roll call vote. Member Donovan?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Allen?
Aye.
Member McFadden?
Aye.
Member Pasillo?
Aye.
Member Monroe?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, we'll go to the boiler cleaning and repair.
Okay, again, Falcon Engineering, a local company, they're the incumbent. They were the only bidder. That's been typical for the past few bids. The motion is to award Falcon Engineering service bid 2021-8 in the amount of $13,890 for cleaning and repairs of boilers in all buildings, contract period FY22 through 2024.
Any questions on the boiler cleaning and repair bid? Everybody's good? Okay, if we can have a motion to award Falcon Engineering Services bid 20-21-8 in the amount of $13,890 for cleaning and repairs of boilers in all buildings for contract year period FY 2022 to 2024.
So moved.
Alan moves. Do we have a second?
Priscilla.
Priscilla seconds. Okay. Diane, did you have a question or a comment on that when your hand is up?
Oh, no,
Okay.
you can
We'll
take it down.
Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Allen?
Aye.
Member McFadden?
Aye.
Member Pasillo?
Aye.
Member Monroe?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Okay, number 3, building security systems, maintenance, monitoring, repair.
So the security systems, again, this is the building, when we close the buildings, every building at night, we code them out, and if the building is entered, the alarm system goes off. The incumbent is electronic alarms. You can see that they have the cost for the 23 school year, $795 for each building, and then 2022 through 24, they lower it for, oh no, hold on, back up. 23 is $795, 24 is $495, and that should be 22 is $795 also, excuse me. So let me
The
read that.
2022 to 2023 is $795 a building and 24 is $495 a building.
It's $495 in the out years
Okay.
it went down, yep.
Okay. Everybody got that? Okay. Questions, comments?
I'll just let you read it for the sake of expediency. The bid award.
Yeah, I
Claudine?
was gonna mention that, but thanks, Bob. Okay, so if we can have a motion to award electronic alarms bid 20-21-12 in the amount of $8,925 for maintenance, monitoring, repair of the security systems for all buildings, contract period FY 2022 to 2024.
So moved.
Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Green seconds. Okay, roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye, motion carries. Okay, number 4, fire extinguishers, inspection and maintenance.
So this is for the inspection of the fire extinguishers throughout the districts. There are hundreds of them when you think about all the buildings. They inspect, they will discharge if they need to, test and refill. Annual cost is $660 for the annual inspection, $3,821 for test and refill. The bid recommendation of the 13,443 would be if they had to test and refill every one. It's the high number. Typically, we would come in lower than that, but for the sake of awarding, we have to go with what would be the most expense that we would anticipate. So that's included in the motion.
Should we do a not to exceed, or you're okay with?
No, that would be the max if they used it all up.
Okay. All right, any questions on that one? Everybody's good? Okay, so if you can have a motion to award Encore Fire Protection bid 20-21-18 in the amount of $13,443 for inspection, test, and refill of all fire extinguishers and extinguisher types for all buildings, contract period FY 2022 to 2024.
So moved.
Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Green seconds. Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Okay, number 5, septic system cleaning.
This is again to pump out all the different septic systems around the district for each building. The incumbent was Diffley and Daughters, and they did not bid. They were sent a bid. We send all the incumbents a bid. They did not bid this year. I can tell you that the last time we bid, I had to call them the day before and say, you have not gotten a bid in yet. And this year, same thing, and they just didn't get their bid in. So there was a new player in town, Bay State Sewerage, and they were very competitive on this bid. So you can see in the detail FY 22, it's 18.9 cents per gallon, 23, 19.5 cents per gallon, 20.2 cents per gallon in 2024. Based on the frequency and the size, the gallons held by the septic system, the 33,402 would be the maximum that we would have to pay over the life of the 3-year bid.
Okay. Any questions on the septics? Everybody's good? Okay, so if we can have a motion to award Bay State Sewage Disposal bid 20-21-24 in the amount of $33,402 for septic system cleaning for all buildings, contract period FY 2022 to 2024.
So moved.
Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Second, Alan.
Alan seconds. Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Aye.
Okay, I'm an aye. Motion carries. Okay, storm drain cleaning number 6.
Okay, this is all the storm drains around the district that they get cleaned out on a schedule a couple of times a year, 3 times maximum usually. The incumbent is our Bruce Briggs, again, a local gentleman. And here you see Bay State Storage. I did talk to them extensively. They have like a super jet, system that cleans out storm drains. And that's what you see reflected in their price, extremely high. Our Bruce Briggs, pretty constant. I think he maybe bumped his rate up 2%, if that. So the 17,325 is for the contract period 22 through 24.
Okay. Any questions on the storm drain? Okay, so if we can have a motion to award R. Bruce Briggs bid 20-21-26 in the amount of $17,325 for storm drain cleaning for all buildings, contract period year 2022 to 2024.
So moved.
So moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Green seconds. Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Allen?
Aye.
Member McFadden?
Aye.
Member Pasillo?
Aye.
Member Monroe?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Okay, number 7, we have actuarial consulting services.
Yes, so this is we need to engage these folks for GASB compliance and their report that they generate. It's all the actuarial on the OPEB benefits. They issue about a 16 to 20 page report, and that valuation is incorporated into our annual audit. This is a good bid for the district. The incumbent was USI Consulting Group. We've used them for the past 3 bids. They've been very good to us. This year, Danziger and Markov bid on it, and you can see that there's a pretty substantial difference in the magnitude of, about half the cost for Danziger and Markov. So that would be qualified as a good bid for the district, and one where we get some good reward for our effort. So for the services that we're going to use them for, the 4,620 is noted in the motion.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Okay, so if we can have a motion to award Danziger and Markov LLP bid 20-21-4 in the amount of $4,620 for actuarial consulting services base contract for contract period FY 2021 to 2023.
So moved.
Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Donovan second.
Green seconds. Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Allen?
Aye.
Member McFadden?
Aye.
Member Pasillo?
Aye.
Member Monroe?
Aye.
Okay, I'm an aye. Motion carries. Okay, we're getting there.
Yep.
Number 8, life insurance.
So the incumbent is Oaks. They are out of Michigan. Typically, the trust from which is a Rhode Island group, they bid on this. They did not this year. I'm going to put this in for a point of reference. In the bid, I specifically asked that if EWG left at the end of the contract period, was there an exit capitalization fee? And I know that they don't have one, that Oaks doesn't have one. And I also know that the trust does not have an exit capitalization fee when you leave their life insurance. But I put that in there, and it's kind of whether it's serendipity or not, but they did not respond to the bid. Just remember that exit capitalization fee, because that's going to come up in the next time I bring the property and liability insurance, which the trust currently holds for us. And you'll understand why I put that in there, because you have to pay to leave when you engage with the trust on their P&L. And so as part of the due diligence, whenever I'm getting into insurance or some sort of obligatory pooled entity owned type of insurance, because the trust says they're self-insured to a degree, when you leave, there's an exit capitalization fee, and on our P&L, it's substantial. So I included new language in the life insurance bid, and whether it's serendipity or not, they didn't bid. So Oaks is the incumbent. They've been great to us. Very competitive rates, minor changes in the, like, on the magnitude of a 0.5 cent raise or increase in the rates. This one is a little different because it's based on employees, like the salary ranges. So the motion is just on the 35 cents per thousand and the 15 cents per thousand for the period covered.
Okay. Yep. So there's no total amount. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So if we can have a motion to award Oaks Inc. Life Insurance Bid 20-21-20 in the amounts of life insurance 35 cents per thousand and accidental death and disability 15 cents per thousand.
That's
Is that right?
No,
1.5.
that's 1.5 cent per thousand.
Yep. 1.5 cents per thousand for the AD&D.
Okay. Okay, so 1.5 cents per thousand for contract year FY22 to FY24.
So moved.
Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Green seconds. Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, number 9, we have rubbish removal services.
Okay, so this is for all the schools, again, all the dumpsters. MTG is the incumbent. We had interest from 2 other bidders. They went through, they evaluated the bid. They were courteous enough to call me and let me know that they wished us good luck, but that they would not be bidding on the contract. So MTG is the incumbent bid. And the total for the 3 years of 92,000 is included in the motion, and just it does say rubbish and recycling is included in that.
Okay. Any questions on that one? Everybody's good. Okay, so if we could have a motion to award MTG Disposal LLC bid 20-21-22 in the amount of $92,799.84 for rubbish and recycling removal for all buildings, contract period FY22 to 24.
So moved.
So moves. Do we have a second? Alan seconds. Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Okay, we have the audit contract number 10.
Yep, so we had, again, we issued this, Bacon and Company is the incumbent. We received feedback from 3 different companies, 3 different outfits. 2 actually bid. Markham LLP, they bid, they were participants in the previous 2 bids. Again, they're slightly higher than the incumbent, Bacon and Company, who has been great to us. They bring a wealth of knowledge and really help us improve our game annually. I know the superintendent and the treasurer. Bacon and Company, Pat Boucher, she's the lead auditor principal of the company. She pushes us. She makes sure we do the things that we need to be doing and questions the things that we are doing in the appropriate manner. So couldn't be happier to recommend them. And the cost for the 3 years of service is $70,500 included in the motion.
Okay, good. Do we have any questions on that one? Everybody's good. Okay, if we can have a motion to award Bacon and Company bid 20-21-6 in the amount of $70,500 for auditing and agreed upon procedures, services, base contract for contract year period 2021 to 2023.
So moved.
Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second.
Green seconds. Take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Hi.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. And last but not least, the truck bid.
Yeah, this was really a mystery. I sent out electronically to specific dealers, Rhode Island dealers. I think I did 5 of them. The bid, and we had it posted. We had it on the website, in the paper. And Gervais Ford is out of, I believe it's Air Mass. They're the only ones who responded. It's unbelievable.
Huh.
It's crazy.
Must be a shortage of
so-
Ford trucks
Yeah.
22s.
So,
or
and it's,
22s.
I don't know what the deal was on that, but at any rate, it's a great price, and it's everything that Steve says he needs. So that's the recommendation. So it's included. The total for 34,347 is included in the motion.
Member McFadden, you have a question?
Bob, when's delivery of this?
12 to 16 weeks.
Okay. So basically the end of summer.
Correct.
All right, thanks.
Everybody else all set? Okay. So if we can have a motion to award Gervais Ford bid 20-21-01 in the amount of $34,347 for the purchase of a 2022 4x4 pickup truck with an 8-foot plow and plow package.
So moved.
Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Alan, second.
Alan seconds. Take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe,
Hi.
and I'm an aye. Okay, motion carries. Thanks, Bob.
Welcome. Thanks, everybody, for your patience on that.
Claudine, can I just say something?
Yes.
So if you look at that sheet of paper in front of you, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of hours that went into that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And so Bob took the lead on all of it. And I just want you all to know that the total of all of those bids was under what was budgeted. So we did really well through this process. And I just wanted to acknowledge the work, because it is a ton of work that is represented on just a short piece of paper.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
And that's why I said thank you first. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for saving us some money. Okay, we'll go to unfinished business. We have the Charter Review Committee membership discussion.
Okay, so in the school committee packet, you had the website announcement and the letter that I sent to the 2 town councils. I have not gotten anything formal from either of the town councils identifying their selected member. So I'm not sure. We can follow up. In terms of the community members, I have 1 response from Exeter and 1 response from West Greenwich. The time frame for submitting has passed now. We indicated that we wanted 2 members from each town. I didn't even get 2 requests, but I do have 1 member from each town that has expressed interest. That's where we are. I don't know if I should put another I'll call out to see if I can get 1 more member from each town. We certainly will request from the town councils for their official nomination from their membership. But once we identify the individuals on that committee, we could get started. I just need some direction. Do you want me to post again, or are we going to run this committee with 1 member from each town, since we did not get we didn't even get 2 volunteers?
Do we want to reach out to town councils to see if they can solicit some community members? It'd be nice to have 2 community members from each town.
Right, it would
And
be.
I prefer it not be school committee members because we're already going to have school committee representation.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, ours goes out through our website, and you put it out somewhere else, Jim. I apologize. It went out 2 different locations.
Yeah, I sent it out on the listserv, my communication. The town council's got it. It's not-
So why don't we ask, obviously I'll defer to other members. Why don't we have to send out another communication to each town council because we didn't get their formal response for their members. Maybe we can ask them to see if they can each put a communication out to their communities and see if they each get somebody. How does
And-
everybody feel about that?
Let me just say that the West Greenwich volunteer was a solicitation from the town council.
Oh,
So,
maybe they already did that.
yeah.
How about if you put yours out again and ask the town council, maybe between
Right.
two,
Yeah,
we'll come up with one from each town.
Okay.
Diane, does that sound good to you? I think you said that was a good idea. How's everybody feel about that? Good? Any other ideas?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Short of running a commercial on channel 6, 10, or 12. Okay, Jim, is that good?
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. Okay, I think we can move on to the next one. Everybody seems quiet. The 21-22 budget discussion. And I know Member McFadden had a question out there, but Jim and Bob, why don't you tell us what you're going to have, and then we'll go to Paul.
So just as a quick update, we've been working on building in changes. You know, this is what we typically do. We have the number that was approved by the towns, but there's variables, right? There's staffing changes, there's increases and decreases that occur along the way. So we've been building in every change as it has come across our desks. We are at the point right now where the budget is balanced to the number that was approved by the towns. I mean, not exactly to the number, but within about $100. So just small adjustments here and there. We will continue to monitor, and as I said, we'll bring this in front of the school committee in June, just so that you can see that changes have happened in the lines, but the total amount will remain as was voted. In terms of the stimulus money, we were told again today that the stimulus funds available to us from the last package passed under President Trump, which we still don't have access to. We were supposed to have access to those funds today. That has not happened, at least prior to the school committee meeting. That amount of money is about $515,000. Does that sound right, Marie? I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's about $515,000. There are specific purposes that we have to use those monies for, including increasing school counseling supports. So we know that we budgeted one of our psychologists in that amount. We are able to offset some of the costs related to high quality curriculum. So I know Member Monroe, you brought that up when we were in budget development discussions. It was a good call because it is an allowable expense. So we've moved several of the expenses that are mandated for us, but allowable under stimulus. So we moved those expenses. I know that Marie has written about, and I've written about, the right to read training, which is significant, and the costs can be associated with the grant. And that's because this professional development has the potential to impact the academic performance of children for the long term. So it's an allowable expense, and it meets one of the mandates that was previously unfunded. So we're going to use some of the money for that purpose. We also talked a lot about summer programming. There is a requirement that a high percentage of the funds is used for summer programming. And we want to make the programming available to all kids. So I wrote about that in my status report. That will be a pretty hefty chunk as well. So most of the money, or all of the money from the Trump stimulus is accounted for, and then some, right? Some of that will spill over into the next round of stimulus. The stimulus package that was passed under Biden, we are not even close to having access to those funds yet, but those funds actually can be used up until September of 2024. So the Trump money we can spend up till September of 2023. The next round of stimulus can be spent all the way out to September of 2024. The requirements for the expenditure of those funds are pretty much identical to the requirements that were given to us for the money that was passed under Trump. We will be continuing to offer summer programming a year from now. There are certain things that we've put in place for the coming school year that will be extended out into the following school year, because I see recovery as being a multi-year process. So that would include funding that psychologist again for the year, continuing with the science of reading training. The curriculum rollout is a continuation multi-year thing, so this will pay for a lot of those expenses over the long haul. And then we are also looking at some potential additional supports for kids who there are particular grade levels as a result of looking at our data, particular grade levels where math and or reading has really stabilized.
Jim froze.
Where'd you go?
Hold on, I'm sending him a text.
Is that better?
You're back.
Okay.
You're back.
No idea what happened. So I forgot where I was. I don't know where you lost me.
Let's see.
You were talking about stabilizing.
Yeah, I think I was talking about the data sources that were used in the LEAP task force with the particular grade levels around math and reading.
Right.
And there are some statewide patterns where kids at particular grade levels have really been hurt the most by losing a lot of face-to-face instructional opportunities. So we continue to look at the data, and we continue to work with the principals on identifying some adjustments to the schedules for next year at the schools to provide more intensive support for kids where it is needed most. That may require some additional staff, all of which could be funded through the stimulus money as an allowable expense. So that will be coming, but like I said, that money is not even close to being available to us. We don't even have the application yet for the Trump package. The amount of money that we are expecting to get under the Biden package is significant. It is about 1.1 million. And that's on top of the 515 that I told you about under the Trump package. So it's quite a bit of money. It is to be used over multiple years. We can go backwards So there is a possibility that if there are expenses that we were not able to recoup through some of the previous packages, we could go backwards. I don't know that it's necessary for us to go backwards because we're within budget. I would prefer that we continue to look forward and offset some of those mandated expenses, particularly take advantage of those mandated expenses and getting those out of the way, because otherwise the school district will have to budget for those in the next couple of years. So that's kind of what we're looking at. But like I said, those are the expected amounts. None of those applications are available to us, but we are continuing to make plans to spend it based on the parameters that have been released to us through the Department of Ed.
Excellent. Okay, any questions, comments on the 21-22 budget? Everybody's good? Paul, you had a question earlier. Are you all set?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Okay, we will go to C, the 2021 reentry planning update.
So I don't really have anything new. We continue to have all grade levels back with the offer of 5 days a week. We have had very few positive cases since we returned from April break. Very few. Unfortunately, there was a positive case this weekend that impacted kindergarten class and some of our students at the high school that are now quarantined. But overall, the total number of positive cases for us is, I think we haven't even had a handful since we returned from April break. So we continue to be in a good place overall.
Okay, good. Member McFadden, you have your hand up.
So in the fall, Jim, is it your expectation that we're just going to we're not going to offer a hybrid anymore? It's just going to be in building situations?
Correct.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay, everybody's good? Okay, we'll move on to D, capital project update, bond discussion. Let's not go back to the bond. Let's just do the capital project update.
I will just report out that we had a meeting on Friday. So today's Tuesday, an owners meeting on Friday. And it really, the nexus of the issue now is the RIDE approval. They have got to approve our construction documents. They had a little bit of a snafu up there regarding their portal, and they've also hired more reviewers of projects. Once we got through that snafu, they had everything in their hands on Friday, including the comments that we had submitted back to them, or the response to their comments to the construction documents. So it seemed like a slam dunk that we would have been done by Friday. Monday morning came, still nothing. Tuesday is now come and gone, still nothing. So I'm really getting nervous. We've awarded the contract to ATC. I have the letter of intent all done up, ready to send. We cannot send it until RIDE approves the construction documents, which is the final approval. This is the third, look at the project that RIDE has had. They had schematic, then design, and now construction. And for the love of God, I mean, they got to get this done. I'm just like, I'm almost at the point where it's like, when is the tipping point that we're not going to be able to get stuff ordered? Because the jeopardy is we cannot award, because if we were to award, then RIDE SBA could say, you did not have approval, you awarded the contract, you started work, your vendors placed orders, and those are now not eligible for reimbursement because you did not have an award. And we just, I can't take that risk. That's not, it's not even part of the discussion.
I just sent an email to my contact, Bob.
And, oh, you sent an email.
Just a text. I just.
And I've been taught, on with the OPM on Friday, couldn't be more clear, we need to get to yes, and you need to muscle up on ride, and for lack of a better word. And they were doing all they could. I said, you need to get me the documents in hand, the AIA contract for the for ATC and the letter of intent. So it's just a 1-2, boom, let's go. We've got those, I've got those in hand, but still no approval up at RIDE. So it's super frustrating. And tomorrow's Wednesday.
Member McFadden?
So Bob, what's the date on this HVAC thing that you have to meet in order for everything to behave properly?
It's not a date. It's not a fixed point in time. The contractor cannot engage in ordering. And right now they're looking at a 12 to 14 week lead time on some of the equipment, the most significant part of the equipment, the rooftop units. And every week that goes by, we lose a week. Now, maybe the supply chain will loosen up, but maybe not. We don't know. And we won't know until they can cut a PO to the supplier. And they cannot cut a PO until RIDE approves.
Bob, I just got a response. We'll have an answer tomorrow.
Great. I mean, it's been imminent, and I know we're not the only one in the queue, but I just get that maybe I'm reaching inappropriate anxiety, but I'm anxious.
I thought this whole thing was to be done by the end of summer. Is that not correct?
End of
HVAC.
September. Beginning of September.
Beginning of September?
Yeah.
And I asked this question before. I always thought our HVAC heating system was separate. And you're saying, so we have boilers, we have oil. What does the HVAC do? Does it circulate the heated air?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Any other questions for Bob? Okay. Okay. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, we have important dates and meetings. So we have a meeting Tuesday, May 25th, Wednesday, June 9th, and Tuesday, June 22nd. And I just want to mention here, since we lost our vice chair and our clerk at the Tuesday, May 25th meeting, according to our bylaws, we will have an election for a new vice chair and a new clerk. So I don't think Jim and I, either one of us have heard from Exeter regarding a replacement for Terry. I do know that West Greenwich is going to be appointing tomorrow night at their meeting a West Greenwich member for Cheryl's position. So that just to let everyone know that's on your radar. And also whatever committees Terry and Cheryl were on, I don't have those in front of me. And I'm probably going to be lazy and ask Robin to send them to me. But whatever committees they were on, we'll also ask for volunteers for those two committees for Cheryl and Terry's positions. And I'll have Robin put those in our packet for the next meeting, so you guys can look at them if you want to volunteer. Okay. So we do need executive session tonight. Let's see. So if we can have a motion to go into executive session under 42-46-5A2, legal advice / potential litigation, Town of Exeter 2021 arrearage, and discussion action, and 42-46-5A2, CBA Teachers Association negotiation contract extension proposal, discussion action.
So moved.
Priscilla moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Alan seconds, and we'll take a roll call vote. Let's see. Member Donovan?
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. So if you could all exit this meeting and click on Jim's email link into executive session. Bye, Lee.
Anybody else here?
Yeah, everybody's coming in.
Sorry, I was muted. Jeremy, if you can take down that big screen, if you don't mind. Thank you. Did you take a nap while we were gone?
No, I was watching Star Trek, not Star Trek, Star Wars.
Oh, there you go. Good way to use your time. Okay. I'm going to take inventory here. So we got Jim, we have Marie, we have Bob. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I think we're all back. Okay. All right, we're back in open session. So if we can have a motion to seal the executive session minutes.
Donovan, so moved.
Donovan moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Green seconds. Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen, Diane, you have to unmute yourself or raise your hand up or down. There you go. Okay, Member Allen.
Oh, I missed all
We're
of the
under
game.
motion. That's okay. We're under motion to seal.
Oh, aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
Member Pasillo,
We're just opening the meeting, right?
Michael.
Yes.
It's a motion to seal.
No, I said motion to open the meeting, right?
We're back in open session. So I'm taking a roll call vote for the motion to seal. We have a motion in a second.
Sure.
Okay, so you're an aye.
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, motion carries. So the minutes are sealed. Disclosure of any votes taken in executive session, there were none. And then if we can have a motion to approve the 2-year extension of the Exeter West Branch Teacher Association NEARI/NEA contract as presented for the period of September 1st, 2022 to August 31st, 2024.
Donovan, so moved.
Donovan moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Green seconds. Okay. So I'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen.
Abstain.
Okay. Member McFadden,
Nay.
Member Pasillo,
Okay.
Member Monroe,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, and that should do it. Jim, any closing comments before we adjourn?
We've covered a lot tonight. I'm good.
You're good? Okay. All right, so if we can have a motion to adjourn. Actually, before we have the motion to adjourn, I just want to say goodbye again to Member Donovan and Member Green. Thank you so much for all you've done over the past numerous years, and you'll both be missed.
Thank you
Thank
so
you. I'll
much.
miss the experience.
And if we can now have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Priscilla.
Second.
Okay, Priscilla made the motion. Alan seconds. We'll take a roll call vote. Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Allen,
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, Member Pasillo,
Aye.
Member Monroe.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Hey, Terry,
Thank you.
good luck.
Good luck.
You too.
Good night,
Thank you
Senator.
both.
Good luck, Terry, and good luck.